about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. With all the other news going on, the Supreme Court has been busy. And the Supreme Court, there will be some headlines today talking about how taxpayer dollars might have gotten a blow as it pertains to being able to use it for religious charter schools. What happened is the Supreme Court was deadlocked 4-4 because Amy Coney Barrett had to recuse herself from this case, where the deadlocked Supreme Court ends up upholding a lower court decision that invalidated a contract, a lot of double, triple negatives here, invalidated a contract approved by the Oklahoma Statewide Charter School Board that established the nation's first religious charter school, blocking the effort that was, I guess, this test for separation of church and state, where many individuals don't want their tax dollars going to public schools that may be teaching about sex toys and other things or altering, historical context. They feel like they don't have a lot of say in terms of bathrooms, etc. And so many would rather have their children go to private school or a charter school, and rather than paying for public school, because that's how it's been. If you don't want to use a public school system, which is free but not free, because that's where your tax dollars are going through, then you have to pay additionally to put your kids into private school. That's how it's always been. But parents are like, well, how do I get my tax money back? That's why I'm not using public school. I'm not using public school because I don't want my daughter having to stand there staring at another student's groin, saying, I don't want that in me in front of the whole class when she is being required to perform a monologue about sexual choice in high school, which, by the way, the school district is getting sued for. So many parents are like, look, can I, decline and opt out of my tax dollars going to the public school system? But the only way for the public school system to work, just like the only way for insurance to work, is everybody putting money into the system. And so there's been an argument where, what if there are schools where parents can use those vouchers to go to a private school, and that private school, usually religious based. My kids went to Catholic school. They get subsidized by the church. They do get some funding from the federal government, but people want separation of church and state. They don't want necessarily federal government funding, and which religion gets more. And so it could be a little tricky. But I guess this public dollars going into religious schools has been pretty controversial. I told you, I think school needs to be completely different. The fact that we have parents not wanting their kids going to public school means we need to reevaluate what our public schools are doing. So how it's always been is, if you want your, you go to Catholic school, or you go to Hebrew school, or you go to Sunday school, and you get additional schooling that you aren't getting in the public school based on your religion. That's all seemed fine and dandy until parents are like, I don't want my kids going to these schools anymore. And so I told you how I think schools should be. It's pretty simple. Let's actually change the dynamic of it, where the mornings are your core classes, no longer than 20 minutes, where they get their math, they get their reading, they get their science, when they're the most bright-eyed, energetic, not sitting around class for a whole hour all day long. And then lunchtime, they could either eat on campus or eat at home, because a lot of us were stuck eating alone. I went to 12 schools, and I hated lunchtime, not to mention the food stunk. But they could eat on campus. And then the afternoons are all your practical learning. From kindergarten or first grade on, your afternoons are your practical learning, where everybody gets exposed to the trades, whether it's the plumbing, whether it's electricity, whether it's teaching, whether it's medicine, whether it's librarian, whether it's authoring, whether it's art, farming, construction. And depending on their age group, they get exposed to all of these during, let's say, month-long rotations like we do in medical school. Every kid is learning another language during the afternoon. They're learning CPR. They're learning first aid. They're learning taekwondo or self-defense. They're learning how to garden, how to hunt, how to fish, such that every child, by the time they reach 16 years old, has a pretty good idea of what they may want to do in life. Then everybody's like, well, free college, free college, free college. Well, without spending any extra money, age 17 and 18, which is your junior and senior year, now that you're graduating high school at age 16, 17 and 18 is your associate's degree or your trade certificate. So that every person, by the time they leave 18 years old, they have access and mastered something, not to mention have a credential where they could go ahead and start working. And none of this 3 months off every summer. That's BS. You could widen Christmas break and winter break because people are sick and missing a lot of class, but shorten up summer break. Every kid should learn how to swim. Every kid should learn how to work out, how to hike. And by the time these kids get access to all that, they are pretty well-rounded. And another thing, too, is I don't like how the school districts, so I went to 12 schools. And so I understand my folks moved a lot, so I got Beowulf 3 times. Yet there's a lot of things, like one lesson I never got was fewer versus less. I never got that lesson. So I always mix up. I go, there's less people, there's fewer people. So the lessons are the same throughout the country, where everybody learns the same. Because, it's ridiculous that somebody might not learn how to fish or hunt in the South when they might move later to, or they might not learn about plumbing or electricity or construction. They might move. So, if we concentrate on the things these kids need to learn and make them well-rounded, it's probably going to save money because now teachers are hired part-time. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Hotshot Secret Stiction Eliminator.
Stiction, that sticky friction, undermines the performance of diesel engines. Third-party ASTM testing verifies that Stiction Eliminator removes 2 times as much stiction than any alternative on the retail shelf. Stiction Eliminator is formulated to be left in the engine oil. It works as you drive.
Available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hotshot Secret. Powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So many of you have been asking if President Joe Biden's cancer went from 0 to 90, what should you be doing? I mean, in terms of your screening, it's frustrating because we're wondering, if that's really how it happened. So the United States Preventative Service Task Force recommends that men aged 55 to 69 don't get prostate cancer screening automatically. Recommend that if you're over 55 to have a discussion with your doctor. They say have discussions with your clinicians regarding PSA screening. This age group is where the decision to screen should be personalized based on an individual risk factors and preferences. They recommend against screening if you're over 70. They said this is due to increased likelihood of harms outweighing the benefits. One of you had asked, why is it harmful to screen somebody for cancer? Well, what they're saying is some people may be found to have cancer when they're 71 years old. They end up getting a radical prostatectomy, the prostate removed, and then they might have urinary issues or erection issues or pain or risk of undergoing the surgery. So the USPSTF, this isn't my thinking, but the USPSTF thinking is there's a lot of risks to getting prostate biopsies and radiation seeding treatments and chemotherapy and prostatectomies, that the benefits of screening and finding out that you have a slow growing prostate cancer, the benefits of that does not outweigh the risks when you're over 70. However, if you're at higher risk for prostate cancer, if you're African American, if you have a family history of the disease, you need to be screened sooner. I used to get a baseline when men would be in their 40s, and then I would compare it to see if it rose. So here we have the story that President Joe Biden was found to have he was having some urinary issues. So then they went on, found a nodule on his prostate, biopsied it, and they said now it's aggressive. It was a Gleason score of 9, which I explained in the first hour, which is a score rating based on how these cells look under a microscope in terms of the severity of their dysplasia or their cancer-looking appearance. Metastasized to his bone, not sure which bone, mid-back, low back, skull. And they say his form of the disease is more aggressive. So for those of you going, wait a second, we've been told he was fine, healthy. He was the commander-in-chief, had the best doctors, and all of a sudden now he has, what could be a near-death sentence, which apparently it's hormone sensitive, so they could treat it and maybe keep it at bay. Many of you are wondering, well, now I want testing. And Biden is 78 years old, I think? So when the USPSTF says no, you don't necessarily need to screen. We recommend against it over age 70. Meanwhile, the president now went from 0 to 90, supposedly, with his cancer diagnosis. People are like, wait a second here. Shouldn't I be screened? So we need some clarification. Is it that he just got aggressive cancer in 2025 over the last 110 days? When nobody, is it that it really was that fast growing? Or was it that he had it for a while and nobody wanted to say anything? And then here's the other thing, though, too. If he did have it for a while, he had some of the best doctors. How did it still metastasize? Now, I'm not saying just because you're commander-in-chief, you will never die. You will never get cancer to metastasize to the bones. But when a person gets cancer, the cancer metastasizes to the bones. It's one of two things. Either one, they were never screened or looked at for years. Or B, they had it for years and it either duped everybody by being in remission and then all of a sudden woke up its, ugly head and decided to attack somebody. And we've seen that where cancer goes into remission, then it comes back with a vengeance. But so there's one or two options. Either neglect for years, and then, wow, this person's back pain ended up being cancer. You never got screened. Or you had the cancer, we were watching it, nothing happened, and now it decided to get aggressive. That's not what we're getting from his office. Now, I would like the family to have privacy. I know this isn't easy, but you have people, half of Americans have a prostate, and they want to know what the hell to do because they don't want to be in the neglect group. And I'm not buying that President Biden was neglected. I'm not buying it. Because we were told he did have his prostate checked. And so you're hearing from prostate cancer specialists going, look, prostate cancer could be aggressive, but boy, this is fast. And in terms of my patients, I've never seen somebody have a completely normal PSA and then months later have Gleason score 9, which is one of the highest, and 10 is the highest, prostate cancers that spread to the bones. And so as much as I want the president to have privacy and his family to get through this, and I pray for him, I don't want him to suffer because prostate cancer to the bones can be very painful. We have, Americans wanting to know, their knowledge of cancer is now changing. And so the story needs to be clarified. Otherwise, people are freaking out that they had a normal test in 2024. And I don't know if Biden had a normal test in 2024. I don't think it was mentioned. I thought his previous physical in 2023 said it was negative. I can't access them because they were taken down from the White House. But, people need to know, what if this is a possibility. They have been told for years that prostate cancer is slow. And I've been telling you for years there are some aggressive forms. So when the USPSTF says, look, you don't really need to screen when you're over 70. You could wait till you're 55 to get screening. And I've been saying, but wait a second, black men may need to be screened sooner. People who are higher risk may need to be screened sooner. And maybe we should offer that screening. Now, people ask, why is there so much weight on the USPSTF? Because insurance companies use that to decide if they have to pay. If the USPSTF says, well, it's between you and your doctor, if your doctor decides to screen you when you're 45, insurance could choose not to pay for it. And for Obamacare to recoup some of the money they need, they have to cover less stuff. So, I, being a physician, my job is to teach patients and teach my listeners what your options are and what happens. And so when we look at celebrities, going from 0 to 90, what is it? Did they have it for a long time? And most of the time, the family comes out and clarifies. It says, look, they've been struggling with health issues for a while. And, it looks like, he finally, rested in peace. But here we're being told, which we, are kind of used to being, given half truths, all the time. And it's confusing to people. So when I get emails going, so wait a second, if I had a normal PSA last year, do I need to go and get that done again now, 5 months later, so I don't have what President Biden has? Usually we don't see prostate cancer do that. So it's confusing. Now, people are asking, well, what about his cognitive issues? Well, it depends. Cognitive issues could be because of cancer to the brain. If they did an MRI of the brain, like I recommended they be doing each year, or at least once, yes, they could find, out reasons for, is there atrophy? Is the brain shrinking? Is it scarred? Is there signs of vascular dementia, mini strokes, cancer? An MRI could tell. I don't know if he had an MRI. Anybody with memory loss should get an MRI of the brain. But, severe memory loss. And these lapses and these gaffes. And the thing is he's had these gaffes for a long time when Obama was president. So we're talking over 15 years of this type of stuff, and not one person has done a scan of his head. Now, maybe they have, and they just haven't shared it with the American public. But when people are being told that Biden, when he was up there making mistakes, that's normal, he's lucid, that's not teaching the American public what to do if they have a family member doing the same thing. 1-877-DOC-DALI.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regenerations. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Now, this next story is about Jennifer Lopez. Even though most people don't really care, much about what's going on with Jennifer Lopez, this may concern you all. So apparently Jennifer Lopez is being sued for resharing paparazzi photos that a photographer and his agency allege were used without their permission. Now, remember I told you guys how you could be trapped in terms of pictures that you are posting or memes. If there's a copyright behind something you're posting, these people may sue you, even if there's no C on it, and you can't verify if it's copywritten. So Jennifer Lopez is getting sued for posting pictures of herself. As you know, she's 55 years old. She recently received facial sutures and stitches for an onstage injury. This is being reported by The Independent. And so she posted pictures of herself attending a pre-Golden Globes party. This was held by Amazon, MGM Studios, and Vanity Fair. Apparently she wore this, I don't know these designers, a white Sylvia Tisharasi Daniela dress, who knows, whatever. She had a fur coat. So she wore this fancy outfit, and she posted the photos on her Instagram and Twitter. Apparently, she has millions and millions of photos. And she captioned it, Golden Globes Weekend Glamour. Well, the photographer who took the images, Edwin Blanco, is suing. He and his agency, Backgrid, have filed separate lawsuits saying they own the copyright to the photos. They're asking for $150,000 for damages per each photo. Blanco and Backgrid said the images were used to promote her public appearances, boost user engagement, increase shareability, and lend credibility to her branded content. Her unauthorized use of the images is commercial in nature, intended for the use of self-promotion. They said, for example, Ms. Lopez used the images to spotlight the designer of her clothing and jewelry, leveraging the publicity from the event to promote her fashion affiliations and brand partnerships. The lawsuit also alleged that Blanco and his agency contacted representatives for Lopez after she shared the pictures and that they had come to an agreement on payment, but the deal had not been signed. So basically, he's getting a settlement. Now, this isn't the first time she's been sued for using images of herself. Back in 2019 and 2020, the disputes were settled out of court and the final agreement not publicly disclosed. Gigi Hadid also sued, and I think Khloe Kardashian, etc. And so, this is something that isn't just about celebrities, anybody can be sued for using a picture taken by somebody else. Now, the way social media is, the way, let's say it's allergy season. Now, I was just hiking in Acadia National Park in Maine. It was gorgeous. There's some poison ivy. So I'm going to post poison ivy pictures, but they're my pictures. I'm not copywriting them. If somebody uses them in the future, I'm not copywriting them. So they're out there. I'm posting them. When somebody posts something, you share, right? When you post on Facebook or Twitter, you could post and repost. But apparently, if there's a copywritten image, you could be liable. Now, I haven't been really following the laws of the courts on this, but being a medical blogger, seeing people get sued for these things, I want to warn you all. Because I came across an article years ago where somebody was teaching others how to make money doing this. Where they were saying, take a random photo of a light, a stop sign, something that might be used in memes or pictures that people will want that'll get on Google. Go and copyright it. Don't put the C on the picture. Most pictures don't have the C on there. Go and copyright the photo. And then months later, do Google Lens and see who's been using your photo. And then serve them with the lawsuit. And I think you're able to sue up to $30,000 per picture. So these people are being told now in Jennifer Lopez's case, for somehow they're going up to 300. I don't really know all the copyright laws, but there's a lot of people who might get that lawsuit, freak out, and then the company says, well, the person suing can say, well, look, we'll do a settlement. Because they don't want to actually take it to federal court. They don't want to take it to court. And I believe copyright has to go to federal. So they basically coerce you or extort you. We're going to sue you for this amount unless you pay a settlement. Now, I think the max you could get on a copyright photo was $30,000. Now, somebody could say, but, Dr. Daliah, what about damages? What about, if I'm posting a meme or I'm posting a sunflower for allergy season, or if I'm posting that, I'm not making money. I'm just posting a photo. But now there's value in your social media. There's value in the number of likes and followers. So they're using that as value. So what I recommend, I'm not an attorney, is if anybody, accosts you about something you've done, get an attorney. There's not a lot of attorneys that know how to do this, but I hope they do learn about this because, boy, it's a big business out there, for scam artists that want to, nail you. But get yourself, obviously, some representation, and they'll help you with that. But in terms of, posting pictures and resharing, for those of you who are fans of Jennifer Lopez, if you reposted the photos she posted, well, now you're in trouble also because it was copywritten. So the courts are going to have to figure out what the hell to do as it pertains to this. So let's say somebody took pictures of your kids at a school play and you're like, oh my God, you got a great picture of my kid. If that person ends up copywriting it, you could be screwed. Now, I'm wondering if there should be some sort of ramifications for taking a picture of somebody who doesn't want the picture taken. I drop my keys. I bend over to drop my keys. Somebody takes a picture of me bending over and posting it. Is there any ramifications? I don't want to sue, but can I ask you to take it down? Can I ask you to not take a picture of my butt? There's laws if you take pictures under people's skirts. But if there's a very unflattering picture of me bending over to pick up my keys, do I have any protections legally? It's a whole different world out there now. And it's just, I do not want to see you guys get in trouble. So be very careful what you post. Now, these memes that are out there, I'm sure, if there's a jury or a judge, if this is a meme used millions of times, okay, I'm sure there is some argument going, this is something that's been out there. We don't know who uses it. And the other thing, too, is there should be an out saying, oh, once I found out it was copywritten, I removed it. But to a lot of these people, they go, no, we're still going to sue you, because they want their money. So until the laws kind of are more clarified, just be very careful posting pictures. I mean, George Wendt had passed away. And you see pictures all over, of people, showing their the cheers. I think he died at the age of 76. I was a huge Norm fan. I mean, George, he was, in fact, by the way, Cliff Clavin had originally auditioned for that role, John Ratzenberger. And apparently he didn't get the role. So he said, hey, guys, do you have a know-it-all? Somebody with a whole bunch of keys and a know-it-all. And then he made his own position there on Cheers. But George Wendt, he was just, iconic. He was Norm. From what you understand, he died peaceful in his sleep at home in Los Angeles. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away. Guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
Product claims without proof.
every trucker on the road has heard product claims about an additive that simply didn't match their experience. Proof is found from third-party testing by a recognized, credible source. That's proof. Hot Shot Secret Stiction Eliminator will improve your performance and fuel economy. For proof, we engaged the Ohio State University Center of Automotive Research to conduct an EPA-certified fuel economy test with Stiction Eliminator on a FedEx truck, a 2006 P500 Freightliner with 247,000 miles. The test showed a 3.6% increase in highway driving fuel economy from Stiction Eliminator, an oil additive. The complete report from OSU is available for download at hotshotsecret.com. That's proof.
Hot Shot Secret Stiction Eliminator, available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So the FDA has now given marketing clearance to a blood test to help diagnose Alzheimer's disease. This is the first to get signed off for the early detection of Alzheimer's in the United States. Now, the test is called the LumiPulse G, p-tau 217, beta amyloid 1:42 plasma ratio. It's for adults 55 and older who are showing signs and symptoms of Alzheimer's. This was a huge announcement last week. According to CNN, it works by measuring the two proteins in the plasma, the p-tau protein 217 and the beta amyloid 142. The ratio of these proteins tends to correlate with the occurrence or absence of amyloid plaques in the brain. Amyloid plaques are the hallmarks of Alzheimer's. It will not measure amyloid directly, but it could signal its presence. Now, we don't have necessarily a single current, standard test to diagnose Alzheimer's. Usually we use a variety of tools. We look at their history, their neurological exam, their cognitive and functional evaluations. We may image the brain. We might do spinal fluid analysis. But this at least helps doctors with the diagnosis. Okay, I know people want, am I pregnant or not? Am I diabetic or not? This won't necessarily do that, but it'll be evidence to or evidence away from the diagnosis. According to FDA Commissioner Dr. Martin McCary, he said Alzheimer's disease impacts too many people, more than breast cancer and prostate cancer combined. Knowing that 10% of people age 65 and older have Alzheimer's, and that by 2050 that number is expected to double, I am hopeful that new medical products such as this one will help patients. So this new blood test was developed by Pennsylvania-based biotech company Fuji-Rebio Diagnostics. And being able to access Alzheimer's disease detection and reduce reliance on PET scans can also save money. So this is huge. The FDA said it reviews clinical trial data, according to CNN, on the new blood test involving plasma samples collected from 499 adults who were cognitively impaired. So the samples, no, Biden was not tested, I don't think. They said the samples were evaluated using the blood test, and then the results were compared looking at PET scans or other testing, including cerebral spinal fluid samples from spinal taps. The data show 91.7% of adults with positive results using the blood test had presence of amyloid plaques confirmed by their PET scan or cerebral spinal fluid test. So that's sensitivity. They are saying sensitivity is, will the test pick it up if you have it? 91.7% of adults tested positive. The specificity is, if you're negative, are you good? Is a negative test a false negative, or are you good? You're negative. 97.3% of people with the negative results had negative amyloid PET scan or cerebral spinal fluid test results. So that means sensitivity was 91.7%, specificity 97.3%. Fantastic. And it also means my lisp is still not completely recovered. So I do have a little bit of a lisp. So this is huge. It's a great step. Will insurance pay for it? How much does this test cost? We don't know. But looking at biomarkers, we really need to get closer to that, especially with such an aging population. So I'm really excited about this, and I'll keep you guys posted on that. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So one thing that many of us have kind of questioned is, why are we spending 3 cents to make 1 cent? It costs us triple to make a penny. And finally, the U.S. government is deciding to do away with the penny. The Treasury Department is going to stop minting new pennies and putting them into circulation by early next year. Now, that doesn't mean the pennies, I know a lot of you are now checking your pockets going, will these be worth something? Maybe in a couple hundred years, but not anytime soon. Businesses are going to have to, they say, round up or round down their prices to the nearest 5 cents. That's according to the Treasury Department in a statement. The penny, actually, they're saying, according to Daily Mail, that it costs more than 4 times its value. See, I read somewhere it costs 3 cents for every penny. So now they're saying it's over 4 cents per penny. And the Treasury lost $85 million minting pennies last year alone. Then what the hell are we doing? So phasing this out is going to save some Treasury some immediate cash. Now, they say this raises the next currency problem, the nickel. So according to Rhett Jepson, a former chief executive of the U.S. Mint, they said that if you get rid of the penny, it's going to increase the amount of nickels. They say you lose more on a nickel than you do a penny. Nickels are worth 5 cents, but they're a loss maker for the Treasury as well. It costs the Treasury $18 million to make nickels. They say this problem could be exacerbated by the end of the penny because demand for nickels are going to shoot up in their place. Now, some people are going, well, wait a second. Now I'm going to be paying more for products by a few cents. We're slowly doing away with cash. They'll still print cash. But when somebody says, it's $4.52, If I have 2 pennies, I give them 2 pennies. But the last time I paid with a penny was probably 10 years ago. I've been using my credit card or debit card. So, are they going to say, okay, well, now it's 5.20? Are they going to round up or they round down? They might. And yes, there is a chance they might screw people out of 3 cents. But if they do round up, then, people are going to be like, you know what, you round up, I don't go to you, I'll just go to the round downers. So I don't know if, it's people are going to be more, I think as we're moving towards more electronic, we're going to be just needing these things less. And maybe eventually we'll stop making nickels and stop making dimes. Now, what do we do with our pennies? We have pennies. They're on the ground. They're in pockets. We put them in a bag or a little plastic container, and then we take them to the bank every few years. It's nice to collect the pennies, but they sit. We don't necessarily use the pennies. We don't buy things for cash anymore. Now, I got to be honest. Now, hold on. Although when I was in New York, they would charge you extra if you used credit card. So I went into my cash to buy my pizza. Everywhere I went, it was a higher price if you used a credit card because the credit card fees. So I don't blame them for charging more, but then I had to go and use cash. So I'm sure we'll figure it out, but I don't like the fact that if we can't figure out a way to mint pennies or nickels or money for cost, and it has to be 4 times the cost, you can't keep doing it. I think it's ridiculous. So I'm not worried about it. Some people say, well, what we're going to later do is pay by fingerprint, pay by. I don't know if I like that because you drag somebody and then you make them put their hand on there. Retinal scans. I don't know where we're going with commerce. I know with medicine, you don't really see people pay cash in medicine. But a lot of companies are also going to no cash because they don't want to get held up. We a few times had to say there's no cash on premises because we were broken into. People don't pay their copays. People aren't paying, so there's no cash. They might send something in the later, like a check. So we're really moving towards going cashless. So I don't know. I think it's a good idea. That's just me. I think we've been spending ridiculously amounts of money. I was just in Boston and Maine, which I'll tell you about later this week. It was absolutely incredible. It was beautiful. The people, just so nice. Very liberal though, but that's that part of the country. It was, we just didn't talk a lot of politics with people. We were just, hi, how's it going? It's beautiful around here. But I got to tell you, some of the sweetest people I met in Maine and Boston. Love it there. 1-877-Daliah. Don't go away.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.